Hey guys, welcome back to a lovely afternoon today. Here I have a very special guest that I have connected with through Instagram, through a lot of advice from a lot of other influencers like Gary Vee and a whole bunch of other entrepreneurs. I discovered this amazing soul beating up the business world, Brian Cristiano. And I
Hey
said that
man,
last name right, I believe.
you
Yeah.
nailed it. You nailed it. It's Brian Cristiano. You got it, man. You got it.
Yeah. Hey, when you're in sales enough, you can get any last name down.
That's
But
right.
so I want to let him introduce a little bit about what he's about, and I really want to get into a couple of different topics, in terms of business, spirituality. He just seems like a guy that really gets it in terms of the self-discipline, the temperamental kind of personal development that you need to be successful. And he's one of the perfect guys I'd love to have here regularly, but I'm just gonna let him introduce himself.
Awesome, man. I'll just give you the quick top level, and then we can dive into any stories or anything specific you want to know about. But essentially, for anybody who doesn't know, I'm the founder and CEO of Bold Worldwide. We're a fully integrated ad agency in New York City. And what we do is we combine business strategy with real storytelling, not just like making up stuff with actors, like real storytelling. And then we use all of the digital and social tactics and data to then drive actual business results. And, we work with clients as big as PepsiCo and Tropicana on a per project basis. Then we have clients all the way down to tech and sports startups. And we even work with the New York Mets and some stuff with the Baltimore Ravens and a bunch of clients in between on different scales. So it's been an exciting journey, and I'm excited to chat with you here today, man. This is cool.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. And so like the first question I have is like, man, when did this all happen for you? Like you talk about those fortune companies, and I'm like, am I talking to Gary, or am I talking to the new upcoming somebody's gonna beat him kind of guy? Are you just like the Zorro in the dark, or?
I don't know, man. I'm still early in my journey, to be honest with you. But I've been at it for a long time, right? I mean, I started actually, believe it or not, I kind of kicked off my career when I was 16 years old. I was into skating, and I don't know, I had a passion for storytelling, and I don't know, just something about business that I liked. And so I picked up a camera. I started teaching myself how to use it. I filmed a skate video, and I had no connections, no money, nothing. I just started like filming, made this video, like figured out along my, as I went. And then I sold it to a distribution company for like 40 grand. And I was 16 at the time. And so that's when I was like, dude, I'm an entrepreneur. This is cool. And, without getting into every story, like then I, went to college, I quit, but then I came back and, started building up a production company. And so Bold now is the next iteration, because I built a production company into 2009, 2010, and we were doing very well. We were doing over $1 million in sales, and we were working with some of the big ad agencies, but it was just like the inside peek under the hood to like how slow, how political, how antiquated a lot of the process was. Not that they didn't mean well, but genuinely, like the work that we were doing wasn't actually impacting clients' businesses, and it was slow. And I saw everything that was happening in the digital world and social, and I'm like, this is an opportunity. This is an opportunity to go in and do it right and really understand what the client's business needs, and then use these tools, use the storytelling, use the video that is our background. And so I bought my business partner out of the production company, and I started Bold in 2011.
Wow. And so, no, and seeing the lack of change, I want to focus on that. I want to focus on either like whether you see them as plateaus or just obstacles to overcome, taking all of that momentum that you naturally have, the same kind of background, except less of the money back behind it. I kind of grew up very kind of like in a struggle position, and I kind of found myself in sales, but I was naturally digital, and it wasn't until a close friend of mine, so many years later, was like, you really belong in tech. You should really get out of like sales, start surrounding yourself with people who are more like you. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm intuitive. I naturally picked up digital when I was in like internet and like in camera and all this stuff when I was really young as well.
Right.
But I put stuff on the back burner because I was, more like in survival than anything. But the challenges that you have, right, and seeing it kind of in real time, how do you face those challenges, and like how do you know where to go next?
It's interesting. I mean, go ahead. What are you saying?
You said like you said you sold your business, and like so you're kind of like you're really moving forward now. And so what's perpetuating that?
Well, I'll tell you a quick story before I get into where I am now, because, you know, it's one thing to kind of like gloss through the highlights of the career. And yeah, great. I built a multi-million-dollar production company. I bought my business partner out, started an ad agency. Now we're multi-million dollars, like we're growing. We're working with great companies and continuing to push the envelope of what's possible. And we have big visions, but that's the glossing the highlights. And the reality is this, you know, like when, you know, I grew up in a middle-class family that really was all about, you know, taking your time, you know, doing things in a certain order, like, you know, play it safe, like don't take risks, get a job, you know, with a retirement, like do that. Very, very blue collar family. My mom's a teacher. She's amazing, super smart, but like, she's not an entrepreneur. Right. And so you know, everyone's very safe in my family. There's not one entrepreneur in my direct family or a completely extended family. Nobody's ever gone out on their own. And so for me, I was very much the complete black sheep of the family, dude. Like, I don't even know where I honestly don't even know where it comes from, other than maybe I saw, like, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something different or bigger. And so for me, when I was, you know, I saw that skate video, you know, I was 16 years old. I started even producing some local commercials. Like, I was just like, yeah, this is awesome. And right before I graduated high school, my dad, who had spent 33 years in the military, who had, you know, he was lieutenant colonel, like amazing accolades, like way up there, done incredible things for the community. But he had all these amazing aspirations. Like, he was going to open this science center and he was going to do all of these different things and travel, all the stuff he never got to do. He died the day before his retirement. And like, dude, it was a punch to the gut. And it was really, it was obviously very tough, especially at that time. And
Oh, you muted yourself.
Yeah. All right. I fixed it. Computer's being weird. But anyway, so, you know, but for me, the bigger thing was like, for the first time ever, I knew in my gut that I wanted to do big things and had aspirations. But then when I saw that he never got to actually realize those dreams and those goals, I was like, holy shit, like, what am I waiting for? Like, why am I listening to my teachers and my family and everybody that I'm surrounded with who are like, oh no, you go to college, you get a safe job, then you do that, don't take risk. Like, you know, entrepreneurism isn't a good thing. You lose a lot of money. Why am I listening to all of these people? Like, my dad never got to do half of the things that he aspired to do just because of time ran out. And I was like, dude, I'm not going to live that life. Like, I'm going to do stuff my way, on my time, on my dime, and I'm just going to go for it. Right. And so, look, I mean, I mean, obviously I got a bunch of different catalyst stories, but like that really for me was the foundation of just like, I'm not going to wait around, you know? And the same thing with this right now. It's like, that drives me today. Like, I'm not going to hesitate. I see an opportunity. I saw an opportunity with digital. I saw that the advertising business, the advertising business model was broken, but there was still a huge opportunity for companies that could come in and do it right.
Yeah.
And that things were changing. And I'm like, I'm not going to hesitate. If I wait until all that plays out, dude, it's over. And so I'm not going to hesitate. I'm going to take advantage of situations and opportunities when I see them. And so that's always just been a part of because of that experience. That's just been a part of my blood.
Yeah. Do you think you've always been fast paced? Did you grow up in like a slow paced? And you mentioned this, you grew up kind of in a slow paced kind of environment. You know, me personally, I grew up on Long Island, you know.
Where? What town?
Hampton Bays and East Quogue.
How old are you? Sorry, cut out. What? How old?
Oh, I'm 25.
All right, I'm a bit older than you. I grew up in Riverhead, man.
You're in Riverhead, huh?
So you know where I grew up. You like I don't even need to paint a picture for you. You know, it's like middle class, like nothing amazing comes out of there except for splish splash and tanker outlets. That's it, man.
Yeah, and you probably were living in Riverhead back when it was old Riverhead, not new Riverhead.
There was farmlands when I lived in Riverhead, not tanker outlets. Yeah. It's different now. Yeah. My mom still lives there. The house I grew up in Riverhead, man, my mom still lives there. Yep. Yeah. So it's not, you know, I mean, Riverhead is not a town to like aspire to go to. It's not anything wrong with it, but it's definitely like middle lower class. Like it's not
so close. When you're so close to Manhattan, the boroughs, it's hard not to venture out and see the difference, especially when you go out there. Like, you know, I knew the moment I started living in Brooklyn and then going back and forth from Brooklyn and Long Island, I immediately knew that like my blood, like I started turning into a superhero the moment I started getting closer and closer to Manhattan. Like something just came out of me. All my friends from Long Island were like, you know, you're just so different like when you're out here. And I'm like, I know, this is just like, it's me. And I kind of have a similar story growing up. You know, I grew up with a dad who And, again, friends and family, same environment. But, my dad specifically was an entrepreneur, but, he had a hard life, succumbed to like drugs and,
wow.
Just from, that kind of took over the business that he started. And from there, it just went all downhill. And, every day it's almost like he's getting, I wouldn't say he has a short attention span, but I feel like every conversation I have, he has like dreams that are just never fulfilled. And just because of like sheer failure, he like chooses to like not do it, because not only does he not have the mentality to do it, but physically, he's old now. Yeah. And that, is just, that's what drives me. I'm like, not only do I want to help him out, but at the same time, from like an early age, I had the same thing. I was told that I was, my mom wanted me to be a plumber when I was 18. She's like, you're going to college? She's like, you're not smart. I'm like, okay. Wow. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So I had negative resistance growing up, past just what I've noticed in the area. And, everybody that I still know out there is still doing their thing out there. Meanwhile, right now I'm in Oklahoma, actually like on a coming back and failed kind of mentality. I had a 90-day trial out here. Now I'm heading back, having learned so much. And it's really crazy because people think, people are just so ready to be secure. They want that security so quickly, and it's not really, my mentality isn't like, what are you willing to sell your soul for, but what are you really going to change about the world while getting that security? Yeah. And a lot of people are selling themselves short and the opportunity that's really out there to give back to the world in their own way. Yep. So many people I grow up with, they kind of neglect like their true inspiration, and they go for or what's been localized, and then that's it.
Yeah. And the reality is, man, I mean, like, you grew up out in a similar area. Like, some of the closest people to me back then when I was in high school or even college, they're still drinking in the same parking lots we were in high school. Like, that's just, it's crazy to me, because the worst part is they could do big things. They could do great things, but it's the comfort of not changing. The reality is everything's changing. You're trying to keep it the same. So instead of participating and be the one making the change, it's happening to you. And that feels terrible. It feels awesome to make the change. It feels horrible to have it to you. It's a different game.
I know. And something that I tell everybody, and everybody knows me to be, and it's probably the same with you. We were just kind of the standout kind of people. We're very disciplined in what we're doing. Like, all we know is we're moving forward. We're going to try and bring it to reality. But like, especially getting into like digital marketing and sales and kind of getting into what I'm doing personally, I'm starting to notice this trend where technology is just, there's this huge valley being created between old businesses and needing to catch up. Yeah. And businesses that are just reaping that space. And I'm like, and that's just this kind of market, but in any kind of niche within marketing and advertising, but across the board in every sector, there's opportunity. Yeah. And everybody has different talents and gifts. And it's just really a matter of finding your own placement. Like, if you saw yourself as a product, place yourself where you naturally would fit in. And it's crazy how many people don't take that kind of spiritual awareness route. They don't do the little extra legwork where, I actually donate a lot of my time in coaching and, therapy services online. There's so many people where I have a 5-minute conversation with somebody and it changes their perspective on like what they should be doing in life.
It's awesome.
And it takes that one moment with somebody to say, hey, like, you want to be a police officer, but you're a really crazy artist. Like, you're really talented. What's holding you back from that? And it's, but that's everybody. And, when you come from a small town, everybody's afraid and risks. And, here I am trying to beat myself out just to get to Brooklyn and New York and kind of start something up. And then I get kicked in the butt, and then I come back, and then I just go back out again. And, it's a struggle, but it's something that's really real. And so I don't know if you have any comments about any of that.
Oh man, it's just the truth, right? There is no success without failure. The notion, and I think you and I grew up in similar situations where we probably taught a lot of the same things, but the notion that you can have success without the failure is complete garbage. You can't. It is part of success. It is part of growth. It is part of getting to the next level. Is stuff will fail, will break. You will screw stuff up, no question. And the more that the bigger your ambitions, the more that you try to do, the more you're going to screw up. The bigger your problems are going to be, the bigger your failures are going to be. And the reality is that once you can accept and recognize that that's not a problem, it's part of the journey, it changes everything. Because now you expect failures to happen. And when they happen, you don't go, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. You're like, oh, there was the thing that got screwed up. Cool. What can I learn from this? So A, it doesn't happen again. And B, I can implement something even bigger next time. That's all it is. And what people expect is this like constant journey that continues to rise. And the reality is it's an ebb and flow. And it's just as long as you continue to make forward progress and learn from your mistakes, then every time it flows, you get a next step up on the ladder. That's it.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I don't know if you know anything about personality typology or personality stuff. You know, there's like a quote unquote a kind of person, I guess you can call them the A-type personality, where I consider, if I was going to consider myself, you know, any kind of temperament, I would call myself the strategic B-type, where I'm not like blindly going into everything, going through brick walls and learning. But, you know, I'm kind of bringing it all together at once and I'm figuring it out. And there's going to be a lot of people watching this video just in general, who just they just go at it and they're not thinking. And I think it's a combination, right, between, you know, this is my strategy, execute. Oh shit, it just turned totally south, you know, and people lose that confidence. Whereas, you know, I totally bombed out in Oklahoma. I thought that a lack of competition would be great. But it was the very nature of such a community-based state that people aren't trying to be competitive here. They could care less. And so that kind of taught me something and a lot of other things. And I'm like, okay, well, the least competitive place in the world ended up not being a great place to go. Moving on.
Next. And all right, that's it. Next.
Yeah, next. Like
that's all it is, dude. Next.
Nope, you're muting. There you go. Nope. Can't. Hold on. Can't, man. I don't know what you did. Hold on. Cannot hear you, bro. Hold on. Let me see if I can get you on here. Can you hear me? No, still can't hear you. Let's see if we can unmute you now. Nope. Yeah, I don't know. I think something happened with your mic. Maybe you would want to hit, if you can hear me, hit the troubleshoot maybe down by the audio. Maybe that'll fix it. The better equipment. Can't go wrong with smartphones. Let's see, hold on. Yeah, I'll invite, hold on, let me see if I can do something. I can always edit this out too, so I'm not too worried. Let's see. Can you invite yourself maybe by mobile? Can't hear you. Yeah, come back and then All right.
What about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, whatever. That was weird,
Fantastic.
but who knows? Just glitched out. We lost some momentum there, but that's all right. That's all right, man. Life happens.
I know.
Dude, that's it. We're talking about failure and it blew up. Like, you just roll with it.
Yeah.
Some people would get
Exactly.
freaking freaked out about that, worked up, angry, and you're just like, okay, that's the thing. Cool. Next. Like, keep going.
It's just okay.
That's it.
Troubleshoot. Get on your phone. Get on the one device that we should be on.
Yeah, whatever. It's no big deal. But anyway, cool.
Yeah.
I
I lost my train of thought, to be honest.
Yeah, we were talking about failure. I was just gonna share a story with you, which was, dude, I almost
share a story.
Yeah, I almost went completely bankrupt personally and in the business in my production company in the early to mid 2000s, man. Like,
damn,
because I was, running without a direction. Because I had no experience. I dropped out of college. I didn't know, like I knew I was talented, but I didn't know all the ins and outs of business. I didn't have anyone to mentor me or to rely on. And so I was just moving forward, but like kind of ignoring all the warning signs of like, hey, maybe you shouldn't, hire this person yet and all those kind of things. And so it wasn't literally this way. But it was, you can hear me, right? Because I can't see your video.
Oh, I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, keep talking. I just can't see your picture, but that's cool. So, it felt like this where I woke up one morning and it was like, oh my God, like I'm $250,000 in debt. Like the business is $250,000 in the hole. I'm, behind. I can't make this month's office rent payment. I can't make payroll. I'm 2 months behind on personal rent. I've literally got like negative numbers in my bank account. And I was like, holy shit, like how did this happen? And for me, like, I blamed it on a lot of things and a lot of people. Like, oh, well, it's because I don't have an entrepreneur background. Oh, it's because my dad's, no longer around. It's because you taught me this, because I didn't, have access to X, because this employee screwed this up, because this client didn't pay us on time, because this contract, whatever, because we get, like all these problems. And I was just like blaming it on all the issues. And it just was getting worse and deteriorating. And I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I can't pay for this. I can't borrow. I couldn't even borrow. Like the most money I think I ever borrowed from my mom was like $1,000, and I paid her back a couple months later. Like, it's not like I go, hey mom, wire me $250,000. I didn't have anybody I could even like ask for anything remotely that would even solve that situation. I didn't even know who to ask. And so I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like, am I going to have to move back to my mom's house in Riverhead? Like, seriously, like, is that what I'm going to do? Am I going to end up bankrupt and end up in Riverhead? And all the people that I was like, see, I'm going to do it. And now I got to go and show up in front of them and be like, well, yeah, it screwed up, like you said. And that hurt. That really hurt. And so what I did was I couldn't find any options. And so I was like, what am I going to do? I put an ad out on Craigslist, and I ended up renting out my apartment on the Upper East Side to some like random stranger. And I was like, hey, here's the deal though. I'll rent you the whole apartment. It's the Upper East Side of Manhattan. Caveat is some dude's going to sleep on the couch. Is that cool? And he's like, yeah, sure, whatever. That dude was me. I literally freaking slept on my own couch while somebody else paid the rent. And I couldn't even afford to put all my stuff in storage. I put some stuff in the office, but obviously couldn't use it for all that. And he never used the kitchen. So I put all my shit in the kitchen cabinet. So dude, I literally like going into the kitchen cabinets to like get my jeans. But then here's the worst part, man. This was like the lowest. Here's the lowest of lows. When I like came home after like a long day, and dude, I'm just beat. Like people call me for money every 10 minutes and shit. It just wasn't fun. I wasn't enjoying it. I was questioning everything I was doing. And I come home, I'm exhausted, and I sit down on the couch, and he's watching some TV or whatever, 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 or
Sorry about that. Can you hear me? No. Oh my, this is horrible. This is absolutely horrible.
One more try here.
Yeah, we got it.
Whatever. It's what it is, man.
Yeah. So anyway, so I got up to the worst part.
Where did we leave off? You're gonna either have to edit this thing or we just leave the whole thing in because it's freaking fascinating.
Yeah.
This is blowing up. And now my other microphone's not working, dude. My computer's like, you can still hear me though, right? Like.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But
there we go. Now my real mic's on. All right, whatever. Whatever. Roll with it.
The irony. But no, I heard that the part where you're putting stuff in cabinets, and the worst part was
this, right? I remember I came home like late at night working, like miserable because I fucking hated the way everything was playing out. It just wasn't enjoyable. And I get home, it's late, and I sit down on the couch. He's watching TV, and he's a cool dude and all. He's like, yeah, he's watching something. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, I just want to friggin' go to bed. But this dude that's paying my rent is sitting on the couch watching TV, which is my bed. Wow. And that was just like the lowest of lows, man.
Mind blown. Yeah.
Yeah. But here's the resolution to this, right? So like I was, you know, and it went on for a while, man. Like I was super depressed. I thought this was it for me. Like, this is it, dude. I'm not all the things.
Oh, there you go. Nah, yep. Your mic's messing up the audio. God damn, this is horrible. We may need to reschedule. Yeah, you're good now.
I'm good now. That's
crystal
great.
Clear.
We'll see what the fuck happens in a minute here. Whatever. Anyways, it's really like losing the momentum on the story, but fine, whatever. We'll keep rolling with it. So, but anyway, long story short, like, yeah, dude, like it was miserable. I thought I was gonna fail. I thought I was gonna have to go home and just be like, yep, I didn't have it. Everything you said was right, dude. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, blah, blah, blah. And I started feeling bad for myself because the people that I did know were like, oh, it's not your fault. Oh, business is hard. Da, 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 da. And I started to fucking believe all that garbage. And then it was like, I'd heard that like Tony Robbins was coming to New York like that next weekend, and it was like $700 or something stupid. And
whoa.
Yeah. And I'd read some of the stuff and I liked it. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I don't know, dude. I don't know what else to do. And so my roommate happened to like 2 days later paid me like the $1,100 or something like that I was charging him, and he gives me he pays me cash, and I like count at the $700. And I had $700 in one hand, $400 in the other, and I'm like, I'm already 2 months behind on my rent. If I can't make the rent in 2 weeks, like we're evicted, like it's game over.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but what up? I'm like, I'm gonna end up getting evicted one way or the other. I might as well just take this money and go to this thing and see if whatever. And long story short, whether it was Tony or not, or just the fact that I was so on the ropes that I just needed some positivity and like a different perspective of life. But what I had realized when I went there was that I was utilizing all of these different things that happened to me as the excuses and the reasons why I was in the predicament that I was. And what I wasn't doing is I wasn't taking personal responsibility for the fact that, dude, it is all my fault. I was trying to convince myself, oh, it's not my fault. Dude, it is. Completely was my fault. And it was like fucked up to realize that, because you're like, man, it's all my fault. Like, I'm a horrible person.
But you know what though? Like, at the end of the day, you can still hear me, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. Jesus. Right? Record. But at the end of the day, what you're going through, and this is just me coming from my psychology major, it's, you had something happen where if it was so tremendous that if you had just accepted that accountability, it would have just hurt you that much more.
Yeah.
And so slowly easing it back into you and saying, yeah, this is just all me. I'm pretty sure that, I can't speak for you, but if you can only imagine, if you just took that maturity on, that responsibility at first, it probably would have hurt a lot more.
Yeah.
And so that's like it's a strong coping mechanism, but it's kind of like, and listen, I'm doing the same exact thing, not anymore because I just got out of a situation. I would not say worse than that, because you already had a business and everything, but everybody's got their own things. But it's crazy though, like what entrepreneurs and people in general have to go through, when situations like this arise.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that guy that you lived with probably knew that it was you on the phone. He had to have known, you know what I mean? But, it's getting that, it's being modest. Lately I've learned that it's really just being modest to the self and saying, this is my situation, but it's not going to break me. It's only going to add to me. And, I don't know if you want to finish your story with Tony.
No, I mean,
so
it was,
got in.
Yeah, no. Like, Look, I mean, that was the thing, is that's what I took away from it, that it was all my fault. And it was equally like depressing. Like, oh my God, this is all my fault. But it was then at the same time equally amazing, because I was like, it's all my fault, which means I can control all of this. Like, so I stopped blaming all of the issues. And I was like, well, I'm just going to like start fixing these. And I went from $250,000 in the hole, living on my couch with somebody else paying me rent. 14 months later, I did my first $1 million in revenue. Totally out of debt, didn't have a roommate. Turned around 14 months plus them. Like, so that was it. Nothing changed. I didn't get better at producing. I didn't get better at video in 14 months. I just got a different mindset, and that changed the game.
Just changed your damn mindset.
That was it.
Yeah. That's crazy. And like literally I forgot when it happened for me, the switch was, but I've always known kind of that, like out of fundamental. It's like, it's weird though, right? Because we can fundamentally know things, but at the end of the day, it's different to actually live it.
Yeah.
And so, I say 2 years, fundamentally, I just realized, because I was doing a lot of coaching, I was doing relationship coaching, I was doing all this kind of coaching work. And then I just started realizing over time, I was learning about all this kind of mindset philosophy, right? Everything's mindset. And then I just started seeing it with my clients, and I'm like, just stop seeing it this way and create a new way to see things, and things will change for you.
Yeah.
And I started doing that for myself. And despite where I am now, despite just being in the hustle and learning and growing and trying to create, it's, like I'm going through a lot right now, but that's not deterring me from my eye on the prize. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
And it's a lot. And a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people will say to themselves, okay, there's this whole entrepreneur movement. There's no entrepreneur movement. There's that waking up and realizing that you have, you have to take control.
Yeah.
You gotta give back. And that alone, it's like you're the main character to an action movie. You have all this responsibility now to save the fucking world. Yep. And that's you, but it's in your own way. And a lot of people cannot handle that all at once. Some people can't just start their own business. They're not built to be that way. No. Or it would take them hundreds of years to do it.
It ain't easy, man. It ain't easy. That's for sure. It's definitely not easy, but you just have to realize that it is part of the journey. You're not there's no straight line. There's no straight line. Like, to get here, I almost completely, almost blew it all up, but I didn't, so it's just part of the journey.
Yeah. Part of the journey is breaking. I forgot what that word was, where it's like a statue's cracked, but there's like gold lining, like to fill the cracks. I forgot what that's called, but it's like, you can break so much, but then like when you're built back together, it just kind of adds to your foundation.
Yeah, man. Dude, you got a lot more, you got more life with you. You got more decisions. You got more perspective.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. But it's a crazy story. And so just from there, like within a year, you just turned around.
Yeah. 14 months, man. That's crazy to me. I had dreamt of doing $1 million in sales. And then I was sitting there like about to go bankrupt, $250,000 in the hole. Everything felt like it was falling apart. And I'm like, this is never going to happen. And then 14 months later, I just did it. And I was like, oh, that wasn't even that hard. Like, that wasn't even that crazy. Like,
yeah,
it,
it's all, but at the end of the day, you were really close to that number anyway, because if you're negative that much, right, that means you're already doing a kind of amount in general. So
yeah, exactly. I was just wrong. The negative versus the plus symbol was in the wrong place.
Yeah. And that's when, it's really a mindset. And so it's like the next goal you have, or that I have, it's really like, okay, the difference between a couple of decimals over is really just mindset. Oh yeah, dude. It's positive versus negative.
Yep.
And, I would say to really give applicability to viewers, I know we've been going on for probably about half an hour now with interruptions, but I really want to focus on, less of like the spiritual aspect, because we kind of got that down pat.
Yep.
And we've got your journey down pat. What do you think are some takeaways? And I'm not necessarily focusing on the digital marketing, niche, just in general, people who may be watching this and they want to just kind of venture out and do their own freelancing maybe and start off really small. Where do you think people should start in terms of mindset, or in terms of, resources or tips that you think would be applicable to somebody, even me? I mean, hey, you mentioned mentorship. If you know of any good mentors that would be able to mentor me, I'm finding more and more that I need, my own mentorship, because as I'm discovering my own strengths and weaknesses, I'm like, damn, like I just don't have everything covered, and it would really be nice to have that direction.
Of course. There's always, you always need someone else's perspective who's been through it or something similar who could give you perspective. And for me, the first step is really realizing, really accepting and realizing that failure is part of the process, because I think so many people are taught to avoid it instead of realizing that it is part of the process. Like you cannot get to $1 million without a lot of problems. You then don't get from 1 million to 10 million without even more problems. You don't get from 10 million to 100 million with even more problems. It doesn't happen. Yeah. And when you just go like, that's just part of the process. I'm not alone in this. All I need to do is learn from those failures. Cool. You're good. You're in with, that's what everybody did to get to where they are. So I think that's really like the first step. And then I would say, just going for it, right? Like if you wait around for the opportunity to show itself or for everything to align perfectly or for, oh, well, I really want to become this artist, but get rid of the but, just start doing it, right? Like you can just go. It's never going to be perfect. And it's like everything, it's progress. It's, the first, you don't go to the gym for the first time and start benching 300 pounds. If you do, you're a freak. Right? You just don't. You got to go there. And dude, you know what? Some people are naturally stronger than others and might go there for the first time ever and start benching at 175. But there's a lot of people who go to the first time and they can barely bench the bar. And if you go, well, I'm embarrassed because this is all I've got, so I'm not going to go to the gym tomorrow, you'll never get to 300 pounds. So wherever you start, that's cool. That's your starting point. But you have to go and start doing it. And then you come back and you do it again the next day. And you go, all right, hey, I benched the bar. Now I'm benching the bar plus 10 pounds. And then the bar, and you do that over and eventually you'll get there. Or you realize, hey, you know what? You don't have the body physique to lift 300 pounds, but maybe you got to 220. That's still better than just lifting the bar, isn't it? Yeah.
And hey, putting yourself in the gym is like putting yourself on the map to where you want to be. People who don't even start to do, they're not even playing the game. They're still in their head. And there's a lot of that as well.
Yeah,
which you may know about. There's a lot of people who just want to stay in their head and they think that they can outthink their way into a situation, which is crazy. You got to do.
You got to do it.
And the more you fail, the more you can map out your success.
Yeah. I thought about a lot of stuff sitting on that couch, man, and it didn't do anything. But then when I started doing it, when I started taking action, picking up the phone, I'll tell you a couple of quick examples from personal level that will relate to anybody, regardless of what, whatever. Like when I was in it and I was sitting and I couldn't get out of it and I felt like I was just a failure and a loser and it was never going to turn around. Dude, you know how many calls a day, vendors, collection people calling me, like asking for money, and I just see the numbers. I just ignore it. I'd ignore it. I'd send it to voicemail. And then when I came out and it was like, you know what, this is all my fault, I'm going to deal with it. It did not feel good to pick up the phone every time they called. But you know what happened? The first one that I picked up and they're like, you owe us 50 grand. And I'm like, listen, here's the reality. I don't have it, but here's my plan. Here's what we're going to do. If you continue to try to collect this on me, dude, like I'm going to end up in bankruptcy. You're never going to see a dollar of it. Or let's work this out over the next 6 months. I'm going to pay you this way, this way, this way. You have my personal guarantee. And they're like, but that doesn't mean anything. I said, it's either that or nothing. And they go, well, I guess we'll give you a shot. And I did it and I paid them off. And they actually called me back and they're like, wow, you're one of the first people that said something that specific and then held to it. And I did that with everything. And all of a sudden, 14 months later, dude, no call. Not only no calls, I had more employees. We actually were positive. We were doing $1 million in sales and we just started growing from there. And it was just taking the action. Thinking about the calls didn't change it, but picking up the phone and saying some words did.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. And it's kind of like action speaking louder than words.
Always.
You know that it's just in business, that's all there is. And, it's not like, all right. And I'm not trying to say I get into these big guys. One of the buddies here that I actually recently couldn't work out with, the guy that actually, I don't know if you remember on that Instagram live, there's another dude that I was living with and we were kind of partnering up. Yeah. That fell through within the last 2 weeks. So I've been kind of going through hell here. But, he got me into Grant Cardone, and Grant Cardone is an A-type guy. He's all about actions. He's all about, he's gone through shit, but he makes up for it with just knowing that actions are it's monumental.
Yeah.
And I really regard that because I used to be somebody who was like, oh, words are the best. Words are the best. And then a girl crushed my heart and I'm like, nope, all actions now.
Yeah.
And I applied that to business. And then, it's just the way to go because now I like to call people's bluffs. I love it. It's like a hobby of mine. I'll sit across the room from somebody, a business owner, and they'll tell me, yeah, business is great. We're, you know, ROI positive, you know, we're great. Our marketing's great. And I'm like, okay, cool. All right. But then like, there's this whole mess that they have in front of me, like elephants in the room. And I'm just like, okay, you know, and I love that now. And I like being a part of the solution. And that's just so interesting to me, how much actions kind of just intertwine with everything.
That's it, man. And I was lucky enough to actually, talking about Grant, man, he's an awesome dude. I was lucky enough. I spent a little bit of time with him a few weeks ago, and really? we did a coaching session and stuff too. Actually filmed it and he posted it online. So that's out there. So that's out there with a lot of views. And yeah, man, I mean, that's what we talked about. We're talking about growth and building something big, getting to the next level for where I'm at right now. And again, it's all action, dude. That's what he preaches, and it's true.
Yeah. And listen, how many times do you think he messed up in life? Just starting his businesses, like, and he's more of a logical kind of sensing in his environment kind of guy.
Yeah.
You seem like you're more intuitive and you're more like in your head, more strategic. And that's just me kind of having this conversation. But, you know, everybody's got their own skills and like attributes, you know, to business.
Yep.
You know, and I see Grant, I see Gary, I see you, you know, and I see the guys that are doing this on my level. And I'm seeing what everybody's playing with in terms of themselves. And I'm like, people just need to know that you combine actions with execution plus who you are.
Yeah.
You know, that creates the niche, you know?
That's it, man. There's nothing more to it than that. Everybody overcomplicates it. I overcomplicate it for many times. And even just meeting with Grant, you know, it was like, how are we getting to $100 million? And it was like, you expect some magical like solution. And it's like, the same thing. Like, here's the stuff you're going to focus in on now more than you were focusing before to get to here. But it's still just like, cool. Yeah. Sales, grinding, hiring the right people, like doing really good work, rinse and repeat.
Scaling.
More and more and more. Like, that's all it is. It's not some magical thing that makes a business great or makes you as a person great. It is just consistency, doing, knowing you're going to screw up, learning from it, not doing that next time, and rinse and repeat over and over and over and over and over.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's just a car that can live on forever if you just work on it every once in a while. You know, like it's like I think of it in terms of scalability. You get your model down, process that makes sense, and it makes you positive, and then you just scale that. You know, and that will eventually create space, right? But then you fill that space up and you figure out those challenges and you move forward.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Or you messed up, but then you're still at that level, right? And that's the best part, is that you get to like that level, you know how to do that level over again. So even if like you had nothing tomorrow, you know exactly what to do.
Oh yeah.
With making mistakes, that's all it's about. It's, you know, like I take what I'm going through right now. I spent 3 weeks in Oklahoma. I don't see it as a waste of time. I'm coming back to New York so much stronger. I feel like the guy do you ever see that movie, The 300?
Yes.
Do you remember like the beginning where he's attacking the wolf and he comes back to his city with the fucking fur coat over his
vaguely,
back?
but
I kind of feel like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like I'm coming back to New York, like knowing so much more, not just about my niche and the people who I ran across, but I'm just like, wow, like I learned so much and what I was doing wrong, what I was doing right.
About yourself. And learn about yourself.
Oh my God, yeah. Like,
that's the key.
I would say it's 90% me, 10% technicalities of business.
Yeah, dude, that's it, man. That's the same. That's what changes it all. Is learning about yourself, what you're good at, where your faults are, and being okay with that. Like, you don't have to fix it all. You just have to be aware of it. And then you go, all right, cool, man. I'm not good at that thing, or I always screw this up. All right, so well, maybe I need to hire somebody to take care of that. Or maybe I need to put more work in to understand it. I don't know. But it gives you the option, and that's all you need.
Yeah. And it's like being modest still, though, because without modesty and really kind of, and just being modest yourself, you wouldn't have gone off that couch. You wouldn't have moved forward. You wouldn't have been able to bring that consciousness back into yourself and been like, like this is me.
Yeah, man.
That's,
it's true. There's a lot of humility to it if you really, because if you don't, you're kind of faking it a bit if you're not humble about it to some extent. You can still be confident, but have some humility about it and just be like, you know what, dude, I don't know all the answers, but nobody knows all the answers. And so can I seek out as many of those answers as I can in short order to shortcut a lot of it? And how many am I going to learn hard on my own? And when I do, how quickly can I take what I learned from that and move forward? That's all it is, right? Like, and it's just having the humility to recognize that, I think.
Yeah. And I think my experience recently put me in that position more so than ever. And so you're talking about that experience you went through, and it's crazy because it's weird for me to aggrandize any kind of person, you know, who's successful, because I know that they've gone through something, and I see that in everybody. But there's a lot of people who don't see that. They kind of take the surface for what it is.
Of course. And
it's the same people, I feel like, who are secure, and they just want that security. And it's really I think it's really more about knowing that, yeah, that's level one, but there's like so many different levels underneath that one dude.
Yeah.
You know, and it's
just looking at the end result. And there's a lot of work that went to that, regardless of who they were, how lucky they got. It's still a lot of work to get there. And you're just looking at the end result. Yeah.
That's really what it is. And hey, so I know we're running out of time, and I do really appreciate you getting on. You know, really some interesting coincidences, but I'd love to talk to you more. Is there anything you'd want to say to viewers, you know, at this point, just one like final, you know, something to put them on track?
One of the best pieces of advice I've gotten, and this is kind of recent, is dream bigger. Even if you think you're dreaming bigger, dream even larger, right? Like to the point of where other people are going to look at you and shake their head and maybe even laugh at you, because it requires something to really come in, every day, put in so much level of work, know that you're going to fail because you're putting yourself out there, and being comfortable and okay with that. It's not enough to just have that and know that. What it really requires is something super powerful and big, a big dream for you, whatever that means to you, a humongous dream where you're like, I'm doing this because of that thing that's out of reach, but I know if I keep doing this, I'll get there. That will get you up every morning when you're freaking exhausted. I got 3 hours of sleep last night, man. And I'm a person who needs sleep. I'm exhausted, but you know what? I got out of bed and I didn't go like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm tired, but I still got up because I know what the dream is. I know where we're headed. I know the impact that we have for me, the employees, our clients. And that excites me so much that I don't care when it hurts, because the outcome is going to be incredible. And so dreaming bigger is what makes all of the rest of the stuff worth it.
Yeah. And do you keep your dreams? Do you recommend keeping your dreams simple and quiet and being modest and humble? Or do you want to just, like Gary Vee, I want to own the Jets?
Put it out there. Here's the thing, right? Like I said, I met with Grant Cardone a few weeks ago. I met with him, we hung out a bit, and we did a coaching session. He filmed it, of course. He does that, you know, and cool. And I was very honest about revenue, currently where we are, our size, our problems. Where do you want to go? $100 million. I said I wanted to build a $100 million company. I had never said that in public. I don't even think I told anybody that was an aspiration of mine. And it's not about the cash. It's about what I think I can build at something that size. And I put all this stuff out there that for some reason in my mind, I'm like, oh, they'll edit out all the personal information and financial stuff. And they didn't. And I saw that in the first day, because here's the thing. I didn't even know they posted it. I got a tweet. I got to get off here in a minute, but I'll finish the story. I got a tweet from somebody who's like, dude, I saw you on Grant Cardone. And I was like, what? And he's like, here's the link. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I check it out, and I get it. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I forward it off to some of my employees. I'm like, oh, check this out. And I start watching it. And then I'm like talking about how much I pay myself. I'm talking about the revenue of the company. I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I wouldn't have forwarded that off to people. Like, what the F? And so I'm kind of freaking out. I felt super uncomfortable. But then after 2 days went by, well, first of all, like, what was there to be uncomfortable about? Nothing bad happened. But what happened was two things. One, because I said, I'm going to grow a company to $100 million. And now 15,000 people on YouTube have seen it. 100,000 people on Facebook have seen it because of Grant. I feel so freaking obligated. I am now in the mindset of like I was when I was on the couch and thinking, dude, I can't go home and tell all those people that I said, I'm going to build a company, I'm going to do something. Yeah. They said, no, you're not. And I can't go home and tell them that they were right. And now I'm like, oh my God, I put it out into the world and hundreds of thousands of people have seen me say that. I can't now not do everything I can to do that. I'm a super driven guy. Dude, the level of drive I've had just over the last few weeks because of that has been astronomical, and I feel better about it.
Yeah, the world knows what you want, so you better give it to yourself.
You better do it.
You know,
and it's gonna be a fun ride, man. It's gonna be a fun ride. It's cool. So put it out there. Dream huge, and then just put it out there. Like tell people and back it up though. Like don't just because there's a lot of people who I know, a lot of people that I also grew up with. They're like, yeah, I'm doing this thing and that thing, and I have all this, and they never take action. Like you got to back it up You gotta cash the checks your mouth writes. You got to.
The missing link to work is just having that dream. You know, a lot of people miss that in work, whether it's a 9 to 5 or anything. It's just you gotta have that really big dream you're working towards. I get that.
Why are you doing it, man? Why are you traveling around and whatever? You got something big, you know? So like, why? And then accept that. And then like, dude, write it. I have it on the friggin' wall here now.
That's awesome. You gotta send me a picture of that. I want a picture. I want to see it.
Hang tight 2 seconds. I know you can't really probably see it on the video here, but it says $100 million is your target. Fuck everything else. Grant Cardone.
Oh my! And he signed it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. I want to let you go. We'll talk soon when you're not preoccupied. But dude, really great catching up with you. And I wish we had like a whole marathon of a series of videos we can do.
Right.
You know, but
this was fun, man. We'll talk again.
Yeah, a lot of really cool inspirational stuff. Again, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, my pleasure. Let me know how it goes and stay in touch.
I will. I'll let you know when I'm back in the city.
Sounds great. Thanks, Daniel.
All right. Cheers.